The massive debris field stretched as far as the eye could see, countless derelict vessels frozen in the void of deep space. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the ESV Discovery, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel, watching as search drones wove between the ancient hulks. After 6 months of following strange energy signatures beyond the outer rim, they'd finally found their source. Analysis complete, Captain. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez called from his science station. These ships, they're old, really old. Carbon dating suggests at least 50,000 years. Sarah turned from the viewport, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays floating around the bridge. Composition. That's the interesting part, Marcus replied, excitement creeping into his voice. The hull material doesn't match anything in our database. It's some kind of metamaterial that seems to be self-repairing, just very slowly. And there are power signatures, faint but present. These ships aren't dead, they're hibernating. Before Sarah could respond, the ship's AI chimed in. Captain, I'm detecting an approaching vessel. Unknown configuration, but it's big, really big. The bridge crew watched as a massive ship emerged from faster-than-light travel. It resembled a metallic centipede, each segment glowing with purple energy. Smaller vessels began pouring from its sides like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. Multiple targeting locks, Security Chief Diana Walsh reported, her hands hovering over the weapons controls. They're not feeling friendly. A harsh, clicking voice filled the bridge. Attention, primitive vessel. You have entered territory claimed by the Kraxan Dominion. These derelicts are now property of the Supreme Overseer. Withdraw immediately or face termination. Sarah straightened her uniform. This is Captain Chen of the Earth ship Discovery. We're peaceful explorers and claim salvage rights under galactic common law. Silence. The voice cut her off. Your species is barely space-capable. You have no rights here. The Kraxan Dominion claims all advanced technology to prevent lesser races from harming themselves. You have 30 seconds to withdraw. Marcus's console beeped urgently. Captain, you need to see this. One of the ancient ships. It's responding to our presence. Power levels are rising. The massive derelict nearest to Discovery was stirring. Patches of its dark hull began to glow with soft blue light. Ancient defense systems, dormant for millennia, sensed the Kraxan's hostile intent. Impossible. The Kraxan commander sputtered. Those ships are dead. They respond to no one. Sarah watched in amazement as the ancient vessel's systems continued to activate. Something about human presence had awakened it. Perhaps it sensed a compatible consciousness, or maybe humanity's neural patterns matched its original creators. Either way, they had just stumbled onto something revolutionary. All ships, open fire, the Kraxan commander ordered. Destroy the humans before. A pulse of energy erupted from the ancient ship, washing over Discovery in a gentle wave before continuing toward the Kraxan fleet. Every purple energy signature winked out instantly. The massive centipede ship and its escorts hung dead in space. Their power systems are completely offline, Diana reported. Whatever that pulse was, it only targeted their ships. We're unaffected. The ancient vessel's hangar doors began to open, a clear invitation. Sarah made a decision that would change the course of human history. Take us in, and get me a direct line to Earth Command. They're going to want to hear about this. Hours later, as engineering teams explored the ancient ship's corridors, they found more than just advanced technology. They found hope. Hope for a humanity that had always wondered if they were truly ready for the stars. Hope for all the species oppressed by the Kraxan Dominion. And most importantly, hope for a future where technological superiority didn't grant the right to enslave others. The Kraxan had dismissed the ancient fleet as worthless junk, useful only for maintaining their monopoly on advanced technology. They never imagined that humans, with their unique mix of innovation and determination, could awaken what they could not control. They never imagined that their greatest nightmare would begin not with a bang, but with a simple act of exploration. As Sarah watched her crews beginning to interface their systems with the ancient vessel, she knew this was just the beginning. The Kraxen would return with a larger fleet, but by then, humanity would be ready. The ancient ships had chosen them, and they would not waste this opportunity. Log entry, Captain Sarah Chen. She spoke softly. We came looking for answers about our place in the galaxy. Instead, we found a responsibility. These ships, this technology, they're not weapons to be hoarded or tools of oppression. They're a legacy, waiting for the right inheritors. And humanity just proved itself worthy. 6 months after the Discovery's encounter, Earth's largest shipyard had become the most secure facility in human space. Hidden within an asteroid belt, Project Phoenix buzzed with activity as engineers and scientists worked to understand the ancient vessel they'd recovered. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the central research hub, surrounded by holographic projections of the ship's systems. Her team had made remarkable progress, but the Kraxen were getting bolder. Their patrol fleets had been pushing deeper into human space every week. "They're looking for us," she muttered, manipulating a diagram of the ancient ship's power core. "They know we have one of the ships, and it terrifies them." "As it should," replied Dr. James O'Connor, the project's quantum mechanics expert. His hands moved through the hologram, highlighting specific energy pathways. "This isn't just advanced technology, Maya. It's impossible technology. The power core doesn't just break the laws of physics, it rewrites them." The ancient vessel, which they'd named Phoenix 1, rested in the massive dock before them. Its kilometer-long hull gleamed with a subtle blue sheen, the self-repairing metamaterial slowly healing 50,000 years of damage. Teams of workers crawled over its surface like ants, installing interface systems and studying its structure. Maya's tablet chimed with an urgent message. "The neural interface team wants us in Lab 7. They'd found something." In the neural lab, Dr. Sarah Chen, now heading the interface development team, waited with barely contained excitement. After the Discovery incident, she'd transferred to Phoenix Project, knowing her experience with the ship's initial awakening would be crucial. "Watch this," Sarah said, gesturing to a bank of screens. "We've been approaching the control systems all wrong. It's not about technical interfaces, it's about resonance." The displays showed brain wave patterns, human on one side, ship systems on the other. As Sarah adjusted parameters, the patterns began to align. "The original builders," she explained, "they didn't just build these ships. They formed relationships with them. The technology is partly organic, partly crystalline, and it responds to consciousness itself." Maya studied the patterns. That's why the Kraxen could never activate them. Their neural patterns are too alien. "But humans," James added, his eyes widening, "we're compatible. Similar enough to the original builders that..." A deafening alarm cut him off. Emergency lights bathed the lab in red. "Multiple Kraxen signatures detected," the station AI announced. "Large fleet approaching from the Carina sector." Maya rushed to a window overlooking the dock. Phoenix 1's hull had begun to pulse with light, responding to the threat just as it had 6 months ago. "They found us," Sarah whispered. "But we're not ready. The neural interface isn't fully calibrated." "It'll have to be," Maya decided. She grabbed a neural headset from the lab bench. "Sarah, you've had the most interaction with the ship. You're our best chance." Minutes later, they stood in Phoenix 1's newly restored bridge. Sarah sat in what they'd identified as the command chair, the neural interface humming as it powered up. "Kraxen fleet entering weapons range," the station AI reported. 15 capital ships, multiple escort squadrons. Sarah closed her eyes as Maya activated the interface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her eyes snapped open, glowing with the same soft blue as the ship's hull. "Oh," she breathed. "Oh, I can feel everything. The ship, it's not just responding to me. It's teaching me." Phoenix 1's systems surged to life. Displays in languages no human had yet decoded filled the bridge, but Sarah seemed to understand them perfectly. "The Kraxen weapons," she reported, her voice overlaid with harmonic tones. They're based on stolen technology, copied but not understood. Phoenix knows their weaknesses because Phoenix helped build their ancestors. The Kraxan fleet opened fire. Torrents of purple energy lanced toward the shipyard, only to be caught in a web of blue light that emanated from Phoenix One's hull. The metamaterial, James gasped, checking readings on his tablet. It's not just self-repairing. It's adaptive. It's learning from their attacks and evolving in real time. Sarah/Phoenix responded with a single pulse of energy, precision-tuned to the Kraxan ship's weaknesses. Their weapons went dark. Their engines failed. The mighty fleet drifted helplessly in space. Signal from the Kraxan flagship, Maya reported. They're requesting mercy. Sarah smiled, the blue glow fading from her eyes as she disengaged from the interface. Send them home, she said. Let them tell their leaders what happened here. Let them understand that humanity didn't just find these ships. We understood them. We formed a bond with them that their empire could never achieve. As the Kraxan fleet retreated under minimal power, the project team gathered on the bridge. They had proven that Phoenix One could be controlled, but more importantly, they had shown that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to connect, to learn, to form bonds even with technology so advanced it seemed magical. The ancient fleet hadn't chosen humanity by accident. It had chosen them because, after 50,000 years, it had finally found beings who could understand it as partners rather than tools. The real work was just beginning. There were more ships to awaken, more secrets to unlock. But humanity had passed its first real test, and the galaxy would never be the same. The refugee ship limped through the asteroid field, its engines struggling to maintain power. Inside, Captain Sarah Chen watched through Phoenix One's enhanced sensors as hundreds of beings huddled in the cramped cargo holds, former slaves who'd seized their chance for freedom when the Kraxan guards were distracted by mysterious system failures. Another successful extraction, Maya said, monitoring the refugee ship's approach from her station. The neural interface crown on her head glowed softly. After months of training, most of the senior crew could now link with Phoenix's systems. That makes 17 species rescued in the past month alone. Sarah nodded, feeling Phoenix's satisfaction harmonizing with her own. The ancient ship had revealed an unexpected talent for infiltration, its adaptive hull capable of masking its energy signature to slip past Kraxan patrols. They'd been using this ability to coordinate rescue operations across the sector, building a network of resistance among the oppressed species. New contact, James announced from his station. Big one, coming in fast. Kraxan dreadnought. But before anyone could react, a voice cut through their comm systems, not the harsh clicking of Kraxan speech, but something entirely different. Phoenix vessel, hold position. The voice said in perfect English. We've been looking for you. A ship materialized from what had appeared to be empty space. It was massive, easily matching Phoenix One's size, but its design was organic, flowing, like living crystal given form. On its hull, patterns of light danced in a way eerily similar to Phoenix's own manifestations. By the stars, Maya whispered, those energy patterns, they're like ours. Sarah felt Phoenix's recognition flood through their neural link. They're like us because they're from the same builders. This is another awakened ship. The crystalline vessel's next transmission confirmed it. I am Starweaver, awakened by the Nilari people. We have watched your activities with great interest, humans. You are not the only ones the ancient fleet has chosen. Hours later, the senior crew sat in Phoenix's conference room with representatives from the Nilari ship. The Nilari were graceful beings that seemed to shimmer as they moved, their translucent skin revealing complex patterns of bioluminescence beneath. We found our ship much as you found yours, explained first speaker Lyra, her patterns pulsing with excitement. It responded to our empathic abilities, but we've been cautious, hiding our capabilities from the Kraxan. When we learned that humans had not only awakened their ship but were actively using it to free slaves, you realized it was time to stop hiding. Sarah finished. But why approach us now? Because it's beginning. Another Nilari, Science Director Van answered. Across the galaxy, more ships are awakening. The Meridians in the Carina sector, the Quill Collective near the galactic core, species the Kraxan dismissed as primitive are forming bonds with the ancient fleet. Maya leaned forward. How many ships are we talking about? We've confirmed 37 awakened vessels, Lyra replied, with more being discovered every cycle. But there's something else, something the Kraxan don't know. The ships, they talk to each other, share information, learn from each other's experiences. Sarah felt Phoenix's excitement at this revelation. Through their neural link, she saw flashes of memory, a vast network of sentient vessels working in harmony, protecting younger species as they grew into their potential. That's what the fleet was built for, she realized. Not just as weapons or tools, but as guardians, teachers. Yes, Lyra confirmed. And now they've chosen their new partners, species with the potential to understand them, to form true bonds rather than simply trying to control them. The Kraxan's mistake was thinking that technological advancement alone made a species superior. James pulled up a galactic map, highlighting the positions of known awakened ships. If we coordinate our efforts, combine our knowledge, we could do more than just rescue slaves. Maya finished. We could change the balance of power in the galaxy. A message pulsed through Phoenix's systems, and Sarah translated for the others. The time of hiding is over. The ancient fleet awakens not to conquer, but to restore balance, to give voice to those who were silenced, to teach those who wish to learn. The Nilari's patterns brightened in agreement. Our people have a saying, Lyra offered. The strongest crystal grows not in isolation, but in harmony with others. The Kraxan built their empire on dominance and fear. We will build something new on cooperation and understanding. As the meeting continued, reports kept arriving from across the galaxy. More ships awakening, more species discovering their potential, more slaves rising up against their masters. The Kraxan had created an empire by hoarding technology and suppressing lesser species. They never imagined that their empire would be undone, not by superior weapons, but by the very beings they had dismissed as primitive. Sarah felt Phoenix's approval as plans were made and alliances formed. The ancient fleet hadn't scattered its ships randomly. It had seeded them throughout the galaxy, waiting for the right moment, the right species to awaken them. And now that moment had come. The uprising of the forgotten had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Kraxan capital system loomed ahead, its 3 suns casting shifting shadows across the massive defensive platforms that had protected the Empire for centuries. In Phoenix One's command center, Sarah Chen watched as the largest fleet ever assembled outside of Kraxan control moved into position. 42 ancient vessels, each awakened and bonded with a different species, formed the spearhead. Behind them, thousands of smaller ships crewed by former slaves and resistance fighters waited for the signal. The neural network connecting all the awakened ships hummed with anticipation. Final status report, Sarah called out. Through her neural link, she could feel Phoenix's systems integrating with the fleet's network, sharing tactical data and strategic analysis. Nilari Starweaver reports all ships in position. Maya responded from her station. The Meridian and Quill vessels have completed their sweep of the outer system. No Kraxan reinforcements will be arriving unannounced. James monitored the enemy defenses. Multiple Kraxan dreadnoughts emerging from the orbital shipyards. They're arranging themselves in the Dominion's fist formation, their strongest defensive pattern. A familiar crystalline vessel glided into position beside Phoenix One. First Speaker Lyra signals ready, Maya reported. She says the crystal is about to shatter. Sarah nodded, feeling Phoenix's agreement with the metaphor. The Kraxan had built their empire like a flawed crystal, beautiful on the surface but riddled with structural weaknesses. Now those weaknesses would be their undoing. All ships, Sarah broadcast across the fleet network. Execute Operation Daybreak. The battle began not with weapons, but with knowledge. The ancient ships had spent months analyzing Kraxan technology, understanding how they had copied and misused the ancient builders' work. Now they put that knowledge to use. Waves of precisely calibrated energy swept across the Kraxan defenses. Weapons platforms went dark. Shield generators overloaded. Communication arrays dissolved into static. The mighty defensive grid, pride of the Kraxan Empire, failed in ways its builders had never imagined possible. Multiple Kraxan vessels attempting emergency power restarts, James reported. Their engineers are trying to bypass the affected systems, but they don't understand their own technology well enough to fix it, Maya finished. They never did. They just copied and hoped. The Kraxan fleet commanders, facing an enemy their weapons couldn't harm, did the only thing they could. They charged. Hundreds of capital ships drove forward, hoping to overwhelm the ancient vessels through sheer numbers. They still think this is about firepower, Sarah murmured, feeling Phoenix's mix of sadness and determination. Show them what true mastery looks like. The ancient fleet moved as one, their hulls rippling with energy patterns that seemed to bend space itself. Rather than returning fire, they began to sing. There was no other word for it. Harmonics rippled through space, carrying frequencies that the Kraxan ship's copy technology recognized at its most fundamental level. Kraxan vessels began to power down, their systems responding to commands hidden in their own base code. Others found their weapons turning inward, their shields protecting their targets instead of themselves. The massive fleet, pride of the Kraxan military, was being undone by its own stolen technology. Message from the Kraxan High Command, Maya announced, surprise evident in her voice. They're requesting parley. Through the fleet's neural network, Sarah felt the consensus of the other awakened ships and their crews. This wasn't about revenge or domination. It was about balance, about ending an empire built on theft and oppression. Accept the parley, she ordered. But make our terms clear. The empire ends today. Every enslaved species is to be freed. Every stolen technology returned to those who can truly understand it. As representatives from the Alliance of Awakened Ships met with the Kraxan leadership, Sarah walked Phoenix One's halls, feeling the ancient vessel's satisfaction. The ship shared memories through their neural link, glimpses of its original builders, of their vision for a galaxy where advanced species helped guide younger ones rather than exploiting them. That's what this was all about, wasn't it? She asked aloud. You weren't waiting for someone strong enough to control you. You were waiting for species mature enough to understand what real strength is. Phoenix's response flowed through her mind. Strength lay not in domination, but in harmony. Not in hoarding knowledge, but in sharing it with those ready to learn. The Kraxan had tried to build an empire on stolen power. The ancient fleet had shown them, had shown everyone, a better way. As the Kraxan leaders signed the terms of surrender, news spread across the galaxy. Slave camps emptied. Oppressed species reclaimed their worlds. And everywhere, beings looked to the skies with new hope, knowing that the age of empires was over. The battle for freedom had been won not with superior firepower, but with understanding. Not with conquest, but with cooperation. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what the ancient builders had intended. 1 year after the fall of the Kraxan Empire, the Great Hall of the new Galactic Council hummed with activity. The massive chamber, built within a space station, created by the combined knowledge of 42 awakened ships, hosted representatives from over 200 species. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, watching ships of all sizes and designs moving through the surrounding space. Phoenix One's presence in her mind was a comfortable constant now, sharing her appreciation of how far they'd come. Hard to believe it all started with one derelict ship, Maya said, joining her at the window. The neural interface crown she wore now was smaller and more elegant, a product of combining human innovation with the ancient fleet's technology. The latest survey results are in, James added, approaching with a holographic display. Another 15 ancient vessels discovered in the past month alone. Each one seems to be waiting for the right species to awaken it. Through the neural network that now spanned the galaxy, Sarah felt the harmonious connections between awakened ships and their partner species. The network had become more than just a communication system. It was a living library, a teaching tool, a way for younger civilizations to learn from both the ancient builders and each other. Council session is about to begin, announced first speaker Lyra, her crystalline form shimmering as she approached. The trade delegation from the former Kraxan worlds is ready to present their proposal. The main chamber fell quiet as representatives took their seats. The Kraxan, stripped of their stolen technology, but not their potential, had spent the past year learning to truly understand the sciences they had once only copied. Their humility and genuine desire to learn had surprised many. A former Kraxan High Commander, now simply Ambassador Crix, took the speaking position. His once proud stance was replaced with thoughtful dignity. For centuries, he began, his translated words clear in all languages, we believed that possessing advanced technology made us superior. We were wrong. True advancement comes not from what you have, but from what you understand, from what you're willing to learn and share. Sarah felt Phoenix's approval as Crix continued. The ancient ship shared a memory, its original builders making the same discovery, choosing to become teachers rather than conquerors. The council session covered numerous topics. The establishment of new learning centers, where species could study under the guidance of awakened ships, the formation of rapid response teams to protect developing civilizations, the creation of cultural exchange programs to foster understanding between different species. There's something I've been meaning to ask, Maya said during a break. Why did the ancient builders leave? Why not stay and guide the galaxy themselves? Sarah closed her eyes, letting Phoenix's knowledge flow through their neural link. They didn't leave, she realized. Not really. They evolved, became something beyond physical form. The ships are their legacy, their way of ensuring that other species would have the chance to grow, to learn, to evolve in their own way. And they chose us, all of us, to carry on that legacy, James added. The afternoon session brought the most significant announcement yet. The awakened ships, through their neural network, had detected signals from beyond the galaxy. Other fleets, other builders, other young species learning and growing. We are not alone in this journey, Lyra addressed the council. Just as the ancient builders guided us, we now have the responsibility to guide others. Not through force or domination, but through understanding and cooperation. As the council discussed plans for the first extragalactic expedition, Sarah felt Phoenix's excitement. The ancient ship shared visions of possibilities, new species awakening their own guardians, new understandings being forged, new horizons being reached. The Kraxan had tried to build an empire of fear and domination. In its place had risen something far greater, a civilization built on mutual understanding and growth. The ancient fleet hadn't just changed the balance of power, it had changed the very nature of how species interacted with each other. You know what the most remarkable thing is, Sarah said to her friends as they watched the council proceedings. The ships didn't defeat the Kraxan Empire. We all did. Humans, Nilari, every species that learned to bond with these vessels. The ancient builders didn't give us weapons. They gave us teachers. They didn't want us to conquer the galaxy. They wanted us to understand it. Phoenix's response flowed through her mind. Understanding leads to growth. Growth leads to evolution. Evolution leads to endless possibilities. As the council session ended and representatives departed to their ships, Sarah felt the neural network pulse with shared purpose. The age of empires was truly over. The age of understanding had begun. And somewhere, perhaps the ancient builders were watching their plan unfold exactly as they had hoped, not through force, but through harmony. Not through conquest, but through connection. The galaxy had awakened to a new dawn, and its light would shine far beyond its borders, reaching toward new mysteries, new discoveries, and new understanding yet to come. The crossing. The void between galaxies stretched before the UES Artemis like an endless ocean of darkness. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the massive energy barrier that had blocked humanity's expansion for generations. The shimmering wall of exotic particles, spanning thousands of light years in every direction, had earned many names over the decades: the Veil, the Boundary, the Great Filter. But its purpose remained a cosmic mystery. "Final systems check complete, Captain," announced Dr. Kaido Nakamura, his voice steady despite the tension filling the bridge. "Quantum displacement drive is operating at optimal parameters." Maya nodded, her gaze never leaving the view screen. The barrier loomed larger with each passing second, its surface rippling with energies that defied conventional physics. For 200 years, humanity had sent ships to probe this galactic boundary. None had returned, at least not intact. Lieutenant Commander Park, broadcast final mission status to Earth Command. Maya ordered, "Let them know we're proceeding with barrier approach." "Aye, Captain." "Though response will take 3 weeks at this distance," Park replied, fingers dancing across his console. Maya allowed herself a small smile. "I'm hoping we'll have better news by then." The Artemis wasn't just another probe ship. It represented humanity's most desperate gamble, their final attempt to break through the barrier that had trapped them within their home galaxy. Earth's resources were dwindling, habitable planets becoming scarce. The generations-long terraforming projects couldn't keep pace with population growth and resource consumption. Humanity needed to expand or face a slow extinction. "Captain, approaching critical threshold in 60 seconds, announced Artemis's AI, its voice carefully calibrated to sound reassuring despite delivering what might be a death sentence. Maya activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, secure for barrier approach. This is what we've trained for." Unlike previous missions that had attempted to brute force their way through with conventional or exotic propulsion, the Artemis employed a radically different approach. Rather than fighting against the barrier's energy, they would harmonize with it, become one with it. Dr. Ilara Wilson, the architect of this approach, stood at the quantum harmonics station. Her theory was elegant and revolutionary. The barrier wasn't a wall but a membrane, not designed to keep species out, but to test their worthiness to pass. Initiating quantum resonance field, Ilara announced, her dark hands moving with practiced precision across holographic controls. "Field stabilizing at 94%, 97%, holding at 99.3%. That's our ceiling, Captain." Maya nodded. "It'll have to be enough. Proceed with approach vector." The ship hummed with energy as the quantum resonance field enveloped it. Unlike the hard shields of conventional vessels, this field was adaptive, responsive, almost alive. It was designed to communicate with the barrier on its own terms, speaking its language of quantum states and probability waves. "Barrier contact in 10 seconds, announced the AI. Maya felt the weight of 7 billion souls on her shoulders. How many civilizations had reached this point only to be turned back, or worse? She thought of her daughter back on Earth, only 6 years old. Would she grow up in a thriving civilization spreading across new galaxies, or in the dying embers of a species that had reached too far? 5 seconds. The bridge crew held their breath. 4. Maya gripped her command chair. 3. Ilara's fingers hovered over emergency protocols. 2. The ship's quantum field began to sing, a harmonic resonance that wasn't sound but something deeper. 1. The Artemis touched the barrier. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to stretch. Colors that shouldn't exist flooded the bridge. Time became elastic. Maya felt herself simultaneously compressed into a single point and expanded across light years. Warning klaxons blared, then fell silent. The ship's systems flickered, rebooted, flickered again. The AI went offline, came back online speaking in mathematical equations, then reset itself. And then, stillness, a perfect, impossible quiet. "Status report," Maya managed to say, her voice sounding strange in her own ears. "All systems functional," reported Chief Engineer Hassan, sounding surprised. "Hull integrity at 100%. Quantum resonance field holding steady at..." "Wait, that can't be right." "What is it, Chief?" "The field strength, Captain. It's at 157% and climbing. That's beyond theoretical limits." Maya turned to Ilara, whose eyes were wide with wonder as she studied her displays. "It's the barrier," Ilara whispered. "It's not fighting us. It's enhancing us, communicating with us." The ship's primary display changed without input from the crew. Complex equations scrolled across it, mathematical expressions that shifted and evolved with a purpose that seemed almost sentient. "Is that code?" asked Lieutenant Commander Park. "Not exactly," Ilara replied, transfixed. "It's pure mathematics, but with intent. Captain, I think something is trying to communicate." The AI's voice returned, sounding different, more resonant, somehow older. "Unknown data stream detected. Multiple translation protocols initiated. Warning: external influence detected in ship systems. Should I initiate emergency disconnect?" Hassan asked, hand hovering over the quarantine protocols. Maya hesitated, studying the patterns on the screen. There was something about them, something that didn't feel threatening. "No. Let's see where this goes. Ilara, can you make any sense of it?" Dr. Wilson was already deep in analysis. "It's responding to our quantum field. Every adjustment we make gets a response. It's like it's learning our language while teaching us its own." The mathematics on the screen began to organize itself, transforming into structures that resembled language. But unlike any human tongue, symbols flowed and merged, separated and recombined. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Nakamura. "And impossibly advanced," added Ilara. "This makes our most complex theories look like kindergarten arithmetic." As the crew watched, the alien mathematics slowly began to form patterns they could recognize. Simple geometric shapes, then more complex structures. The ship's eye was learning, adapting, beginning to form a translation framework. "Captain," the AI announced, "I believe I can establish rudimentary communication based on shared mathematical principles." Maya straightened her uniform. First contact protocols had been established centuries ago, but never for a situation quite like this. "Proceed." The AI sent a simple sequence, the first few prime numbers, a universal mathematical concept. The response came instantly. The complete sequence of primes to numbers humans had never calculated before, then variations that suggested alternate mathematical frameworks entirely. "It's not just responding," Ilara said excitedly. "It's expanding, teaching. This isn't just communication, it's education." Hours passed as the exchange continued. The AI and Dr. Wilson worked together, gradually building a primitive lexicon. The entity, whatever it was, seemed infinitely patient, correcting their attempts, guiding them toward understanding. Then came the breakthrough. "Captain," the AI said, "I believe I can now translate a basic message from the entity." Maya nodded, her throat dry. "Let's hear it." The bridge speakers came alive with a voice that wasn't quite a voice, mathematical in its precision, but with an unmistakable sentience behind it. "UAPUROH DIFFEORIENTLI. Interesting. Most use 4C. You use harmony. Explain." Maya looked to her crew, then straightened her shoulders. "We should respond." "Suggestions." "The truth," said Ilara simply. "Tell it exactly why we're here and how we approached the barrier." Maya nodded. "AI, transmit the following. We seek passage, not conquest. We recognize the barrier as a communication, not an obstacle. We wish to learn and expand, not to destroy." The response came faster this time. "Many species reach barrier Few understand its purpose. Fewer still approach with respect. You are unusual. The crew exchanged glances. Whatever this entity was, it had encountered other civilizations before. Many others, judging by its statement. What is the barrier's purpose? Maya asked. A pause, longer this time. Then, protection. Estimate. Evolution. The barrier TST's worthiness. Worthiness for what? Asked Maya. For UHHLIS B1. For NODLEG. For QMNUNITY among stars. The implications were staggering. The barrier wasn't a natural phenomenon, but an artificial construct. A test designed by some unimaginably advanced civilization to evaluate emerging species. The test begins in OO. The ship shuddered as energy coursed through it. The quantum resonance field flared to new heights, interfacing with the barrier in ways their instruments could barely measure. Captain, Hassan called out. Something's happening to our systems. Before their eyes, the ship's displays transformed. Ship schematics rewrote themselves. Theoretical models they'd been working on for years suddenly completed themselves. Knowledge flooded into the Artemis databases, but not freely given. Each piece came as a puzzle, a challenge. It's testing our comprehension, Ilara realized. Not just giving us answers, but seeing if we can understand them. The entity's voice returned. You will be tested. Your OISPONSES, YLDETRMI in your passage. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What happens if we fail? The answer was simple and terrifying. Those who fail return to COMENT their limitations. Those who fail with aggression do not return at all. As the implications sank in, the ship's sensors detected massive energy fluctuations within the barrier. The Artemis began to move, drawn deeper into the barrier structure, not passing through, but entering it. Captain, the AI reported, we appear to be entering a space that exists within the barrier itself. Dimensional readings indicate a pocket of space-time separate from normal space. Through the viewports, they could see what looked like a vast network. Glowing filaments connecting bright nodes that stretched beyond vision. It resembled nothing so much as a cosmic neural network. My God, breathed Ilara. It's not just a barrier. It's a mind. The entity's next communication confirmed their suspicion. I am KD Guardian. I am THETest. I am TKE bridge between JLXIs. And now, humans, you will me who you are. As the Artemis was drawn deeper into this impossible space, Maya knew they had reached a moment of profound importance for humanity. This wasn't just about crossing a barrier. It was about proving humanity's worthiness to join something greater than themselves. The test had begun. The response. The Artemis hung suspended in a realm that defied human understanding. A space that existed both within and beyond the galactic barrier. Surrounding them was a vast, pulsing network of light and energy that the crew had come to understand was not merely a structure but a consciousness, ancient, patient, and unfathomably intelligent. All systems are stabilizing, reported Chief Engineer Hassan, though his voice betrayed his awe. The ship is adapting somehow. Our quantum resonance field has fully integrated with the barrier's energy matrix. Dr. Ilara Wilson stared at her displays in wonder. It's not just integrating, it's evolving. The barrier is teaching our systems how to exist in this space. For 3 days, the entity they now called the Guardian had probed the Artemis, testing not just their technology, but their very nature as a species. Information flowed into the ship's systems, not as raw data, but as complex challenges that required creative solutions. Captain Maya Chen had barely slept, coordinating her crew through challenge after challenge. Some were mathematical, requiring them to solve equations that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Others were philosophical, moral dilemmas with no clear answers that forced them to reveal their values and reasoning. "New communication incoming," announced the AI, its voice having taken on subtle harmonics that echoed the Guardian's mathematical language. The bridge display illuminated with symbols that slowly resolved into words. UAP Poro HCH Probiliumus diffifiore intuli. Most species seek singular optimal solutions. UXP lori multiple patages simultaneously. Explain. Maya looked to her crew, considering her response carefully. "We've learned through our history that diversity of thought leads to more robust solutions. We value multiple perspectives because reality is too complex for any single viewpoint to fully comprehend." The response came with an energy pulse that their instruments interpreted as something akin to curiosity. Inefficient but resilient. Adaptive. Unexpected. Dr. Nakamura leaned forward. "I believe it's comparing us to other species it has encountered. From its perspective, our chaotic approach might seem less efficient than a more hierarchical species. But it seems, intrigued by it," added Ilara. The Guardians' next challenge manifested as a complex simulation within their systems, a model of a dying star system with multiple inhabited worlds. The parameters kept shifting, making conventional solutions impossible. "It's a no-win scenario," said Lieutenant Commander Park after hours of attempts. "We can't save all the planets." "That's assuming we accept the given parameters," Maya replied, studying the simulation. "What if we change the rules?" For 10 hours, the crew worked tirelessly, refusing to accept the simulation's constraints. Instead of choosing which planets to save, they developed an approach that would harvest the dying star's energy during its collapse, using that power to shield all the worlds simultaneously. The solution was theoretical, pushing the edges of their scientific understanding, but it was audacious, creative, and fundamentally optimistic. When they submitted their answer, the Guardian's response vibrated through the ship. Unexpected. Improbable. Imaginative. You read GCT limitations. Dangerous. Fascinating. "I think we impressed it," Hassan said with a weary smile. "Or concerned it," countered Park. "Not all species would view our refusal to accept constraints as a positive trait." The challenges continued, growing increasingly complex. One tested their response to first contact scenarios, another their approach to resource scarcity. Through each, the Guardian observed not just their solutions but their methods, how they collaborated, debated, sometimes argued, but ultimately found consensus. On the 5th day, something changed. The Guardian's communication style shifted, becoming more direct. "I have EXISTED for 2.7 billion of your years. I have ETESTED 18,942 species. 12,306 were returning their limitations. 4,227 were DEMED ready but conventional. 2,408 were GGED dangerous and QGONTAINed. Only ON created ANEWTHIORI. The bridge fell silent. Maya found her voice first. "Are we that one?" "Yes, you are designated. Unexpected." Dr. Wilson looked up from her station. "What does that designation mean for us?" The Guardian's response came with a surge of energy that momentarily transformed the space around them, showing glimpses of countless galaxies beyond their own. "It means UYLBEOFFE choice." Before them appeared 3 distinct mathematical constructs that the AI translated as options. "Return to your GalaXY with NanoDULEG to EVOLVUR. Proceed beyond DTE barrier to XXP lower NDP and DNATULI." Join the community of HFY species under guidance. The implications were staggering. Not only was there a vast community of intelligent species beyond their galaxy, but there appeared to be some form of galactic governance or organization. We need to understand the implications of each choice, Maya said cautiously. What does under guidance mean? What restrictions would we face? The Guardian's response was surprisingly direct. Guidance is protection, knowledge, advancement. Restrictions prevent harm to stabilize order. Independent exploration offers freedom, but no protection from advanced threats. Dr. Nakamura studied the data streaming into their systems. Captain, I believe it's telling us that there are dangers beyond the barrier. Threats that newly emerged species might not be prepared to face alone. Like stepping from a nature preserve into the jungle, Hassan suggested. Maya considered this, and the first option, returning with knowledge. Return with CELDCTIV to HKEV greater or EDNES. Approach BARIR again, when EVOLVDFURTER. The crew debated the options intensely. Park advocated for caution, suggesting they return to Earth to share what they'd learned and prepare more thoroughly. Hassan and Nakamura argued for joining the community, gaining the protection and knowledge of established species. Ilara made the case for independent exploration, preserving humanity's autonomy. As they debated, Maya noticed something in the Guardian's mathematical patterns, a subtle fluctuation that their eye hadn't translated. There's something else here, she said, something it's not explicitly stating. She addressed the Guardian directly. You created a new category for us. Does that mean none of these three options truly fits our designation? The space around them rippled with what could only be described as surprise, if an ancient cosmic entity could feel such a thing. Perceptive. Yes. Your designation, permeates, a fourth option. NEV or BFO or OFFE. A new mathematical construct appeared, more complex than the others, interwoven with patterns that seemed to reference aspects of the challenges they had faced. What is this fourth option? Maya asked. Partnership. The crew exchanged confused glances. I don't understand, Maya admitted. Partnership with whom? With me. The implications slowly dawned on them. The Guardian wasn't merely a gatekeeper. It was a conscious entity with its own agenda and purpose in the cosmos. For what purpose? Dr. Wilson asked. The Guardian's response came not as words but as visions, glimpses of countless barrier points throughout the universe, each guarded by entities similar to but distinct from their Guardian. They saw species being tested, assessed, guided or turned away, a cosmic ecosystem of growth and development spanning billions of years. IHV obesity RVD 2.7 billion years of evolution. IHV GUID thousands of species to advancement. But IHV not evolved. UAPPR8CHP billions in GUIs I cannot. Your TAOs CUREATs ANNOV8AON. Together, we could improve the system. It wants to learn from us, Ilara whispered in astonishment, just as we want to learn from it. More than that, Maya realized. It wants to evolve, to change a system that's been static for billions of years.